This is the GOAT of each weight class, flyweight to heavyweight. Now, a lot of these are up for debatable. A few of these guys I feel like are a serious lock. And I feel like some of these guys, their resume and the guys they fought, it was a while back, like 10, 15 years ago. Um, I've been watching that long though. I'm an absolute fossil when it comes to MMA. I've been watching MMA forever, what feels like a lifetime. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of glaze over these wins, just kind of pass them by. And some of these guys some of these champions that I'm going to be showing is my pick for go to the weight class, have some very, very high level underrated wins, especially 10 to 15 years ago. So let's jump into it here. All right. Flyweight, it's Mighty Mouse. Now, I know this one is debatable to a lot of people. A lot of people think Alexandre Pantoja has a better resume, right? First and foremost, this is the resume for Mighty Mouse Johnson. 11 title defenses. 11 title defenses. Henry Cejudo, 2-division champion. That's an all-time win. Joseph Benavidez, very successful career in the UFC. Fought for the belt, I believe, like 4 different times, right? 2 against Mighty Mouse, and I believe 2 against Davison Figueiredo, like fucking 6 years, 7 years later. So the fact that Joseph Benavidez was able to stay successful in the UFC and relevant for that long shows that's a really solid, underrated win there. John Dodson, another very successful UFC fighter, right? He beat him twice. He beat Benavidez twice. Tim Elliott was on UFC 319, Chimaev Duplessis. Tim Elliott fought Mighty Mouse for the belt almost 10 fucking years ago. I think in a recent interview, Mighty Mouse said it was like 2016 that he beat Tim Elliott or something like that. Tim Elliott's still like a top 10 flyweight or 11 right outside there. So the fact that Tim Elliott has been able to stay relevant that long, that is a good win. A lot of people want to shit on this dude's resume, but like, dude, most of these guys he beat are still relevant today or were relevant for a long ass time, like upwards of a decade. So look, Pantoja's he's getting close, right? He's closing the gap. I still have Mighty Mouse, right? Kyoji Horiguchi is another one. He beat Kyoji Horiguchi a long time, probably about 10 years ago in the UFC. The UFC is at a point where they're trying to bring Kyoji Horiguchi back in 2025 because he's a beast and he's destroying people on the regional scene, right? I think he might be in Ryzen. I don't really cover those other promotions too much, but still. And then you look at this is a big factor for me when it comes to like naming goats of a division, right? Like, what did the title reign look like? Dominance is huge. Was it a clean title reign? Was there a lot of wars they got into? What did that look like? And for the most part, minus like the John Dodson first fight, Mighty Mouse had a pretty fucking clean reign at flyweight, dude. He didn't take a lot of damage. He was too well rounded, too fast, too good everywhere for most people he fought, right? I know he got clipped a few times in that John Dodson fight. If you go back and watch the first John Dodson fight, other than that, dude, this guy was dominating people left and right, finishing them on the ground, knocked a few people out on the feet. So DJ is my flyweight goat. Bantamweight, Merab Dvalishvili, man. This is a tricky one because you got guys like Aljo. Let's go over Aljo's resume, right? TJ Dillashaw, questionable. TJ was compromised going into the fight. Henry Cejudo, solid win. That's the best I think I've ever seen Aljo look. I had him winning that fight 3 rounds to 2 over Henry. Phenomenal win. Peter Yan, I also had him edging that fight, the second Peter Yan fight, right? He got him fair and square. So Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo, pretty good wins. TJ Dillashaw, Corey Sandhagen, right? That's another pretty good one for him. Another pretty good one for Aljo. So Aljo has a decent resume. He does. I'm not saying he doesn't, but this is Merab's resume here. I mean, look, Dominic Cruz also, right? Beat TJ Dillashaw. Solid win. Solid win. Uriah Faber twice. Mizugaki, I mean, the resume for Dominic Cruz just doesn't. It's not strong enough for me to put him over a guy like Merab, nor is Aljo's. 2 title defenses so far, right? Still pretty early into his championship reign. Dude, Jose Aldo, all-time great. Henry Cejudo, 2-division champion. Peter Yan, former champion. Umar Nurmagomedov was undefeated and is probably going to be a future champion. Really solid win. These are some of the more unknown ones early in Merab's career. Marlon Moraes fought for the belt against Henry Cejudo. Was an absolute killer in that division. Huge bantamweight, dude. John Dodson, who DJ beat, stayed relevant for a long time in the UFC. Moved up to bantamweight, right? These are solid wins, dude. This resume, it's like, especially the last 1, 2, 3, 4 wins he's gotten. Oh, I didn't even put Sugar Sean O'Malley. I swear to God, I put Sugar Sean O'Malley in there. But Sugar Sean O'Malley twice. Sean is an elite, world-class striker, decent on the ground. Sean fucking, his takedown defense was good in that second fight. Merab was just too much for him and crushed him. So Sean O'Malley twice. I don't know how that didn't get added. I swear I put that on, but whatever. Merab, clear bantamweight go. Over Aljo, over Cruz. All right. Featherweight. Dude, it's Volkanovski. It's Volkanovski. I don't want to hear this shit. Like, some people have Ilya over fucking Volk just because he knocked Volk out and he knocked Max Holloway out. That's not enough in the division for me to give Ilya GOAT status in the featherweight division, right? Like, let's look at Ilya's resume when he was on the come up. Bryce Mitchell, right, was a top 10 guy at the time. Josh Emmett, top 5 guy. Then he knocks out Volk, okay? Then he knocks out Max. That's 4 solid wins, really solid wins in that division. That's 4 solid wins for Ilya in the division. Max Holloway, right? He had the Ortega defense. I'm trying to go over his, because I'm keeping it divisional. So Ortega, Jose Aldo twice, right? Those are some of his notable wins in that division. Arnold Allen, Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Cater's decent, but for Volk, resume-wise, 5 title defenses during his reign, and got the belt back over Diego Lopez at 35 years of age. Beat a young killer in Diego Lopez, right? So 2-time featherweight champion. Beat Max Holloway 3 times. The third fight, he absolutely destroyed Max Holloway. We've seen what Max has gone on to do in the UFC. Sleeping Gaethje. Pretty much destroying and dismantling Dustin Poirier, right? Having a competitive fight until he got knocked out with Ilya. Like, Max is an all-time great future Hall of Famer. Diego Lopez, obviously. Yair Rodriguez, very successful, long-time top 5 contender in the division. Volk absolutely fucking mauled Yair Rodriguez. Chan Sung Jung also fought for the title multiple times against Aldo, against Volk. Very successful in the featherweight division. Brian Ortega has fought for the belt multiple times. Long-time top 5 guy, not anymore since he lost to Aljo, but still. And dude, the fact that he got out of a mounted guillotine and a triangle from one of the most dangerous submission artists in the UFC, especially at the time, come on, man. Come on. Jose Aldo. Chad Money Mendez. Even Darren Elkins, bro. Darren Elkins was top 10 at one point, putting it on dudes with his pace and his wrestling and that kind of that grind style, right? So Volk is unquestionably my featherweight GOAT. Ilya does not have enough fucking... I'm sorry. Just because you beat Volk, Max, Charles is in another division, that's not enough of a resume in that specific division to overtake a guy like Volkanovski. Lightweight. It's got to be Islam Makhachev, right? Khabib has an underrated decent resume, but Khabib's best wins are Justin Gaethje, right? Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor. Solid resume. Solid number 2 guy. Like, then you got guys like BJ Penn who beat Kenny Florian, Diego Sanchez, like Sean Shirk. Fuck, who was his other defense? Yeah, Sean Shirk, Diego Sanchez. He had 3 title defenses. Islam has 4 defenses. Dude, beat Volk twice. I don't want to fucking hear, oh, he's a featherweight midget. I've seen these people online being like, all he does is beat up midgets. The midget that's like probably one of the greatest fighters of all time, in Volkanovski, who at 35 still rules over the fucking featherweight division. I don't want to hear that shit. It was at lightweight. Volk used to walk around at 214 pounds. He beat Volk twice, right? 4 title defenses. Beat Dustin Poirier, right? Controlled most of that fight. I know people like to make it seem like it's more competitive than it was. No, dude. No, he was winning the fight against Poirier. He was winning every round, and then he submitted Dustin Poirier. And now Tomoe Kano, again, top 10 guy. Dustin Poirier, top 5 guy. Charles Oliveira, former champ. Islam fucking mauled him and submitted him in the second round with an arm triangle. Bobby Green, I know this one seems a bit like controversial. Dude, Bobby Green, like that was when Bobby Green was like on the up and up. When Bobby Green was putting people away, when he was like trying to break into the top 10 or top 5. Like Bobby Green's got a lot of solid victories in the UFC, dude. A lot of solid victories in the UFC, and at that time he wasn't really washed like he is now. Dan Hooker, right outside the top 5 currently in the lightweight division. Islam fucking mauled him and Kimura'd him in round 1. Arman Sarukian in Arman's debut. I know that was on short notice, but it's a name on the resume. Right? He beat Arman Sarukian already. Drew Dober. Solid win, dude. Solid win. Drew Dober's gotten a lot of victories in the UFC. Now, those last few, they're not, the greatest, but look at the resume down leading to this point. They're notable wins. Thiago Moises was ranked at the time, right? Ranked contender. Big, strong Brazilian dude. Islam controlled it, and I think he finished him in like round 4. I think it was like in the Apex or something, but Islam Makhachev, clear lightweight goat. Welterweight, come on, dude. My favorite fighter. It's got to be GSP. I don't know why I couldn't get a good picture of him off the UFC website. George is pixelated, unfortunately. Look, I got George as my GOAT. Forget John Jones. George is the GOAT. And also the welterweight GOAT. The fact that Dana White, when Kamaru was on his run, was saying, I don't know how Kamaru isn't the greatest of all time in this division. I mean, I love George St. Pierre, but shut the fuck up. Shut up. George St. Pierre's resume is insane. Even outside of the former champions that he beat, some of the guys that I'm going to show you on this list, very, very underrated wins. 9 title defenses in the welterweight division. Matt Hughes, former champ. He beat Matt Hughes twice. Matt Hughes was fucking dominant, especially the first time he beat him. George fucking dismantled him, kicked him in the head, completely demolished him, right? And then beat him a few years later. Jake Shields at the time, bro. I don't know what kind of win streak Jake Shields was on, but it was some insane win streak. Was a Strikeforce champion. Dangerous jiu-jitsu guy. Jake Shields was on top of the world at the time, and George thoroughly beat him. It wasn't as dominant as like everyone was used to seeing, but George clearly won that fight. BJ Penn, he beat BJ Penn twice. BJ Penn's a former 2-division champion at lightweight and welterweight. Right? And he got the lightweight belt the second time. Right? Years later. And dominated that division for like 3 fucking years. George fucking destroyed. He had a close first fight early in his career, right? When George was really young in the game. Second fight, not even close. George absolutely crumbled BJ Penn. Sean Shirk. This is an underrated win. I feel like not a lot of the people today know who the fuck Sean Shirk is. Sean Shirk, obviously, he was a beast. Even at welterweight, dude, he fought for the title at welterweight. He fought George, non-title bout. George fucking took him down, elbowed the shit out of him, smashed his fucking nose up, TKO round 1. Or maybe it was round 2, I can't remember. Literally after that, a few years later, Sean Shirk went down and won the lightweight belt and defended the belt. Right? That's an underrated win. John Fitch. Not a lot of people know who the fuck John Fitch is. Dude. John Fitch. Look, first and foremost, George destroyed him, right? That was his first title defense when he had to go get the belt back after he lost it. He got the belt back from Matt Serra. That was his first defense. Absolutely destroyed John Fitch in a 5-rounder. Got him by decision. Most of George's fights were dominant one-sided decisions where he would just kind of beat the shit out of him on the ground. And this was one of those fights Now, John Fitch, after he lost to George St. Pierre, dude, I swear to God, he won like 7, 8 fights in a row. Like, he was the clear gatekeeper in that division for so many years. This might sound controversial. John Fitch was Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Before Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. He was that dude who was so fucking good, but could never win the title. He just couldn't win the title, and he only got one crack at it, dude. He loses to George and literally is beating everybody in the division almost for like 3 fucking years. I like went on this crazy run after he lost to George and like dominated and just fucking ground down everybody. He was a wrestling style kind of, he would weaponize cardio, take people down, and just wear them the fuck out and break them in the cage, right? That's a very underrated win. Thiago Alves was a fucking Muay Thai killer. This guy was kicking people's legs into oblivion, right? Like he was almost like, I think he was like pre-Jose Aldo, right? He would just damage people with leg kicks, knock people out, right? He knocked out Matt Hughes. He beat Josh Koscheck. Like Thiago Alves, for George St. Pierre to go in there and just fucking destroy Thiago Alves. Again, 5-round decision. Underrated win. Carl Parisian, this is a really early one, bro. This guy was a fucking judo nightmare. This guy would toss people on their heads. At one point was scheduled to fight for the title, got injured. Things ended up falling through. I think he lost to like Diego Sanchez after that. But dude, Carl Parisian was a problem in that division. George beat him. Josh Koscheck, D1 All-American wrestler, the only guy who could give George problems in the wrestling throughout most of George's career, right? Josh Koscheck was like this power wrestler, could take anybody down, but also had knockout power, fucking put a shitload of people away in the welterweight division, including Matt Hughes. George beat him twice, right? Dominated in both fights. Carlos Condit was a problem, former WEC champ, interim champ at the time. George was coming off a long layoff. He tore his ACL, year and a half layoff, and comes back to beat a killer like Carlos Condit. Nick Diaz was on top of the world at the time. Strikeforce champ. Came to the UFC. He beat BJ Penn in his debut. He was coming off the loss to Carlos Condit. So maybe a little bit more questionable here. But dude, Nick Diaz, like in his fucking prime, was a problem, especially with the pacing and the body shots and just being in people's face and the constant pressure he would put on. George destroyed Nick Diaz. Johnny Hendricks. A lot of people think George lost that fight. No, man. No. If you go back and rewatch that fight, first and foremost, Johnny Hendricks is a fucking cheater. Johnny Hendricks was on steroids. Look at the fight with George. Look at his first fight with Robbie and like his second fight with Robbie Lawler. I think right during that time period after George left, they started implementing USADA, and Johnny Hendricks went from like this to fucking this. Like, he lost the belt to Robbie in the rematch. Not a rematch. In the second time, Robbie got another shot at the title. And then from there, Johnny Hendricks went on a downward spiral. Johnny Hendricks is a fucking steroid cheat. Hold on a second. Let me move over here a little bit. Okay. Johnny Hendricks is a steroid cheat. If you look at that fight, Johnny Hendricks hit like a fucking truck. So a lot of the shots he landed on George just did more physical damage. Right, and I know like damage-based scoring, that's not how it was scored then. It was scored on control time. Strikes landed, significant strikes landed. George outlanded him on strikes. He outlanded him on significant strikes. He out-wrestled him. He landed more takedowns. He had more control time when he did get the takedown. Yes, physically he looked a mess after that fight. George won that fight. So, Johnny Hendricks, former champ. GSP, clear welterweight GOAT. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with Dana during Kamaru's reign. Like, dude, stop it. This is a lock. There is no fucking debate up for who's the welterweight GOAT at all. 4 more defenses than Kamaru, right? The resume is much better than Kamaru Usman's. Now, Kamaru Usman is an all-time great. He'll probably go down as a top 10 guy all time. GSP, clear welterweight GOAT. And clear GOAT, man. Clear GOAT. He's my GOAT. George is the GOAT. Never cheated. Like John Jones. So, yeah. Middleweight. Anderson Silva. It's Anderson Silva. Now, I know a lot of people think, oh, Izzy, Dricus was on the come up, you know. Dude, 11 title defenses. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, we can't, we keep talking about, these guys modern day, like a Pantoja, like an Izzy, who will defend the belt 4 or 5 times, and we're like, whoa, I think they're the greatest of all time. Unless the resume, okay, for you to have 11, what is it, 4? Izzy had 4, right? Or is it 5, 4? In order for you to have 7 less title defenses than this dude, your resume has to be absolutely insane, right? I mean, Izzy has Cannonier. He beat Robert Whitaker twice. Solid. Former champ. Beat Yoel Romero. That's a good win. Paulo Costa. It's all right, dude. That's all right. Paulo Costa had his time, and he's still relevant. It's a decent win. All right, Kelvin Gastelum. Alex Pereira is a solid win. Alex Pereira is a good all-time win, but it's not enough to make up for the 7 more title defenses that Silva had. Right? He beat Chael Sonnen twice. Destroyed Chael Sonnen in the second. Well, he didn't destroy him, but it was a lot more one-sided in the second fight. Obviously, Chael almost fucking beat this guy, but he didn't. He got choked out by a triangle in round 5. I was heartbroken, dude. I wanted Chael to win so bad. I was fucking heartbroken. Chael Sonnen twice. Chael's a Hall of Famer. Rich Franklin's an underrated win, dude. Rich Franklin was a fucking problem in the early days, like in 04, 05, 06. Like, Rich Franklin was ragdolling people, knocking people out. Like, Rich Franklin was a big fucking middleweight who was dominating people. And Silva went in there twice and just, he got the Muay Thai plum clinch and just kneed him into fucking oblivion. Dan Henderson, very successful UFC career. Fought for the belt at light heavyweight against Rampage Jackson. Fought for the belt against Anderson Silva at middleweight. Had a lot of banger fights for years in the UFC. 2-division champ in Pride. That's saying something, dude. Like, Bellator, these other promotions, we can't really respect it. There's 2 promotions outside the UFC that's like, dude, you have to respect those guys because of the success they had in the UFC. Strikeforce is one of them, and Pride's the other one. Most of those guys who were in those other divisions went on to be champs in the UFC. Silva beat that guy, right? I think he choked him. I think he triangle choked him. I think. Or no, rear naked choke. Round 2. Damian Maia, dude, fought for the belt at middleweight. Fought for the belt at welterweight. Was super relevant in the UFC for a long time. Beat guys like John Fitch. Like, Damian Maia was a problem. That's a super underrated win. Silva absolutely toyed with him to the point where Dana White was so pissed off he didn't even wrap the belt around him post-fight because Silva just taunted him the whole time and just beat the shit out of him on the feet and, did what Silva does. Prime Silva, if you were there. He just talks shit. Mental warfare, why he would beat your ass if he didn't knock you out. So yeah, 5 rounds, he destroyed Damian Maia. Nate Marquardt was another great win. Nate Marquardt had a very successful UFC career. Vitor Belfort, obviously, steroid cheat, but hey, he beat him. Yushin Okami was this big, scary Japanese wrestler. He was a huge fucking middleweight dude. Very successful UFC career. Nick Diaz, I just put that on there to preface this. I'm not counting that win because he did test positive. He thoroughly beat Nick Diaz, but he tested positive for steroids after that. I just wanted to put that on there to preface that. Just to show you that I'm subtracting that from his resume. Derek Brunson, again, this is old Wash Silva. He still beat Derek Brunson, who went on to be a top 5 middleweight. So Anderson Silva, I have him as the middleweight goat still. All right, the next one, I think we all know who this is. I mean, this one is a lock. This one's not up for debate, similar to welterweight. This light heavyweight is just not up for debate. I mean, it's Jon Jones, man. It has to be Jon Jones. Listen, Jon had 2 different runs at light heavyweight. And obviously, of course, I put his ones that don't count on there. Okay, so his first run at light heavyweight, he had 8 title defenses, 1 including DC, right? Loses the belt, completely fucks up, gets the belt stripped from him. He's out probably damn near 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Comes back, beats Ovince St. Preux, which is an underrated win. Ovince St. Preux had a lot of wins in there, was a top 10 guy for a long time. Head kicks DC, that one does not count. We're subtracting that from the resume, but even so, that one documented time like he's been shown to cheat, I subtracted it, and he's still unquestionably the GOAT of the light heavyweight division. I mean, beat DC fair and square for the first time, right? Dominated DC. Out-wrestled him, outstruck him. Just, you know. Alexander Gustafsson. First fight was... Oh, also, I didn't put the Dominic Reyes win on there. I did not put Dominic Reyes on. I think he lost that fight. You subtract Dominic Reyes, you subtract the second DC fight. He's still the GOAT, bro. It's just, there's no... You can't even debate this shit. And I don't even like this guy. I hate him as a human. He's the most narcissistic person ever. But he's still the unquestioned GOAT of the division at light heavyweight. Gustafsson twice, second time dominated. Got him on the ground and beat the living shit out of him. First fight was questionable, but, you know. He rectified that in the second fight. Glover Teixeira, that's a former champ who won the belt at like 42, like 10 years after Jones beat him. Jones absolutely destroyed him. Did this weird move where he grabbed both of his arms and jacked them up and hyperextended the shoulders of Glover so he couldn't throw as much power. Crazy shit, dude. Like, some of the shit he would pull off, respect, back in his early days. Like, some of the shit Jones would pull off, like, pretty spectacular. Rashad Evans, former champ. Beast of a wrestler, knockout power. Like, Rashad was a problem. Fucking John kept him at range all fucking night and just destroyed him. Actually, like, elbowed him. Just, you know, it was kind of like, boom, the entire night. One-sided decision there. Quentin Rampage Jackson, former champ. Rampage, you know, beat a lot of legends in there in the UFC. Lyoto Machida, at one point, people thought this guy was unbeatable, right? The Karate Kid. You know, the half Japanese, half Brazilian dude. People thought that guy was unbeatable, and he actually gave Jones really fucking big problems in the first round. Jones eventually got a hold of his neck in the second round. I remember being in Hooters. That's all we had. Don't judge. That's all we had to watch fights back in the day was Hooters. John gets a hold of him. It's a front choke, it's a standing ninja choke. He gets it, and he's so tall and long. Machida was like 6 foot. Jones is like 6'4". Like, he got under the neck and just like stretched his body up, stood on his tiptoes, and fucking slept Machida out cold. Dropped his dead carcass on the canvas. Not literally, but dropped him on the canvas. I remember everybody in that fucking place being like, "Oh shit!" Truly nasty finish there. Shogun Rua, that's who he took the belt from. Shogun was a problem. He beat Lyoto Machida. Like, Shogun's legendary Pride, former Pride champion, former UFC champion. Jones fucking made it look easy. Ryan Bader's an underrated win, dude. A lot of wins in the UFC for Ryan Bader. Was undefeated when he fought Jones. Undefeated. All-American wrestler, knockout power, freak athlete. Jones fucking toyed with that guy, right? And Ryan Bader went on to win 2 belts in Bellator, right? And knocked out Fedor, I think. I believe he knocked out Fedor at heavyweight. He took the light heavyweight belt in Bellator, went up to heavyweight, knocked out Fedor, 2-division champion in Bellator. Okay, Vitor Belfort, TRT version. Jones beat that guy. You all remember TRT Belfort was a fucking problem, dude. That guy was a fucking psycho. He was a nightmare. He spinning back kicked Luke Rockhold, another former champion at middleweight. He beat Michael Bisping. He took Michael Bisping's eye. This guy was bad news on TRT, and Jones beat the living shit out of him. He hyperextended Jones's arm in the first fucking round with a nasty deep armbar because he was just this strong animal jacked up on fucking copious amounts of TRT. Jones slammed him out of it, beat the shit out of him, and then fucking Kimura'd him after that. Chael Sonnen. Not as good at light heavyweight, but hey, it's still a name, man. It's a Hall of Famer, as much as I disagree that Chael should be in the Hall of Fame. And then Ovin St. Preux, right? John is unquestionably the light heavyweight GOAT. Last but not least, heavyweight. I think it's still Stipe, man. There are arguments. Obviously, Kane, I think, is the best argument. Kane he beat JDS, Junior Dos Santos, twice. He beat Brock Lesnar. I think Kane only had 2 title defenses, though, if I can remember. And it's like, dude, if Kane would not have gotten injured, it would unquestionably be Kane as the heavyweight GOAT. Kane was a freak of nature. No one could deal with that guy. No one could deal with the pace, the wrestling, the striking, just none of it, dude. Like, Kane just mauled people, but he trained like an idiot, dude. So, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. Hey, he's the go to the division, man. Go to the division. 3 title defenses. Beat Daniel Cormier twice. Knocked him out once. Decisioned him, I think, in the 3rd fight. Beat Junior Dos Santos. Got revenge on JDS, Junior Dos Santos. Lost a decision to him years before that. Beat him to defend the belt. Fabricio Werdum. That's who he took the belt from. Fabricio Werdum. Dude, this is the guy who was the first guy to beat Fedor in like fucking 10, 15 years. Fabricio Werdum was the guy to do it. He choked out Fedor Emelianenko in his prime with a triangle choke. He beat fucking Prime Kane in Mexico City. Stipe slept that guy in a couple minutes, right? Caught him rushing in, clipped him on the chin, and that was it. Francis Ngannou, an absolute freak of nature, former champion, completely just gassed him the fuck out, wrestled him. A lot of people were picking Francis in that fight, and Stipe was like, hold on a second. It's not your time yet. Alistair Overeem. It wasn't Ubereem, so not quite as impressive, but, still. Alistair, legend in Pride. I don't know if he did K1. I think he did K1. A lot of solid wins in the UFC. I mean, that's the guy. He wasn't Ubereem, but that's still a solid name to have on your resume, right? Roy Big Country Nelson. A lot of people don't remember this dude. Guy was a fucking problem. He had a fucking huge belly. Huge belly. He'd always rub the belly and ask for a Big Mac from McDonald's, and this guy had knockout power, world-class jiu-jitsu, broke everyone's heart on The Ultimate Fighter when he fucking TKO'd Kimbo Slice. I was so mad, dude. He just put that big fucking belly on Kimbo Slice and just kind of like Hamzat when he had Dricus in the crucifix. That's exactly how it was. Just little shots, and the ref had to fucking stop it because Kimbo couldn't get the fucking belly off of it. Roy was a problem, dude. Knocked a lot of people out in the UFC. Yeah, Stipe outpointed him for 3 rounds. Mark Hunt's another one, dude. Mark Hunt, big belly, guy from New Zealand. Obviously, most people know him for his years-long battle with the illegal battle with the UFC. Crazy power, bro. Mark Hunt slept so many people in the UFC. So, heavyweight, the bar is a lot lower in terms of who's the GOAT because there's just not very many people in there who reign very long just because it's so fucking dangerous from a power perspective, with all these big guys, but it's still Stipe. Probably Aspinall. Aspinall is moving his way up there pretty quick. A few title defenses. I kind of want to say one. Maybe he defends against Cyril and he gets one more after Cyril. I think Tom's probably the GOAT. I don't know, man. We'll just have to look at what happens with Cyril because Tom does have a pretty fucking underrated resume. So for now, it's Stipe. So yeah, that is my GOAT, at least my opinion on the GOAT of each division in the UFC. If you like the video, subscribe, drop a comment, dude. Let me know your GOATs. I'd be interested to hear some of your GOATs in the comment section of this. Yeah, till next time. See ya.